Hi.
Hey Max, how are you?
I'm good, but I think we've got a technical problem.
What is that?
No, it's good. I had you talking in the background on some recording. I don't know how it was working.
Oh, okay. You only have too many iPhones in that office.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is. Too many iPhones.
Too much technology.
Indeed.
So we'll wait a couple of seconds for people to start joining us so that we can start.
Okay.
There you go. Are you at home or are you at the barn?
I'm at the barn. I'm in my office.
In your fabulous barn and office.
Yes, that's right.
Well, once we're allowed to escape, I think many of us should head on down for a bit of shopping at your barn.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
in the meantime, you have a wonderful website.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good. Everybody likes it so far. We redid it again about 2 years ago, and it's done really well.
Oh, good. So maybe we should. Hello, everyone. Emilio Pimentel-Reid. Welcome to Interiors Academy. Today we have a conversation with the busy antiques dealer, interior designer, Mr. Max Rollitt. Max is an influential dealer decorator with a distinct style, combining classical elegance and sophistication with richness of texture and joyful color combinations, which I adore. Many like me admire Max's eye for scale and proportion, as well as his in-depth knowledge of historical interior. I think I've covered everything.
I think that's good. Thank you. That's
Max is amazing, which is why we're thrilled to have him. Max, tell us, how did Max Rollitt start as a business? What is the personal narrative behind Max Rollitt?
It started. How does it start? Well, my mother was a fashion designer, and when I was 7, and she was raised in a shop. Her mum had a dress shop and milliners in Leek in Staffordshire. So my mum was brought up from 14. She was in the shop, and she was taken to Manchester to the mills, and she helped her mum with the buying and the selling. And anyway, she went to night class to do fashion design and art, and she tried to run away from home when she was 23. And she got to London, but her mum came running after her and dragged her back. And eventually she escaped at 28, and she had a really, really, really good career as a fashion designer and colorist, actually. And she took over a shop when I was 7, and she didn't know what to do with the shop. So she thought, well, I used to go to auctions. She used to go to auctions with her dad. She loved antiques, and she knew about fabric. She knew everything there was to do about fabric. So I was brought up in a shop looking after the ladies of Winchester, helping them choose their curtain fabric and moving furniture around for my mum. And of course, I went off to, I was a rebel, and I decided I was never going to have anything to do with this capitalistic and went off to university to study comparative religion. So you're getting the full story now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I was not an academic. I did fine in my A levels. I went to a very good. My mum paid for fantastic education, bless her, and I dropped out of university. Didn't know what to do, and trained as a French polisher, and then as a cabinet maker. So my background was in cabinet making, and there was no money in cabinet making in the 80s. It was all the good designers went to Italy. Modern design was sort of was stuck somewhere. We were full of fabrics and glamour and Lady Diana and overdoing it, and it was lots of history. So actually, I went into restoration which was great because I could work with my hands. You know, modern furniture making is all with tools and machinery essentially, whereas restoration is with your hands. And from that, I learned about furniture, its design through history, and I loved it. I absolutely loved the sort of architecture of the furniture and the coloring of the furniture and the richness of age. And eventually my mother said, do you want to take over the business? And I went, okay, when I was about 28. So I'd been a long time on the bench, and then I set up my own workshop and ran an antique shop, essentially. And then slowly managed to push my mother out. Sorry?
Did you inherit some of your mother's clients?
Yes, of course. But I was trying to sort of get a very different sort of client to my mother's, and I really was looking at the interior design market, and I sold a lot to some great people actually, because I did the fairs up in London, which was a sort of way of getting a different market to the ladies of Winchester, and ended up selling stuff on a regular basis to Roger at Colfax and Fowler, Roger Jones, and Axel Vervoort as well, and Michael Smith in America. So I mean, I was very lucky. You know, I sort of found my way into that market, and then somebody asked me to do their house, and I said, how do you want it done? What can I offer? And they said, well, we want it just like your house. And I said, have you seen my house? You know, but what they wanted was something a bit more relaxed, but having that sort of sense of history to the object. So,
and is that what sets you aside? Because obviously in the market you have a very strong following. What is it, that knowledge of history that sets you aside? What makes Max Rollitt unique in each segment of the market?
I think I understand. It's that understanding of history and architecture, and also trying to bring some joy into it. Mm-hmm. So trying to bring some color in without being a sort of rave color. Do you know what I mean? You know, that whole Indian vibe, just trying to bring some depth into it and resonance, so that you sit in a room and it might feel traditional or it might feel contemporary, but it still has it's bringing you joy and it's bringing you depth. So it's not overthought. It doesn't feel like it's been designed. That's the whole point. It shouldn't feel like. It should feel like home. That's the point.
So joy for you is feeling comfortable enough in your surroundings. Is that, how would you define joy? Because you used the word a couple of times. Okay, so joy is something where you're basically at ease. So you can, and where you can, something that enriches your life. So you're looking at not beautiful things or beautifully drawn things, and there's some resonance there that sort of can lift you. I don't know. I get a lot of it from just a lot of what I love is the story of the purchase. You know, going out and finding something and the background behind it, and the people you meet in the encounter, and but also the sort of knowledge of as where that thing has come from, and then how it has aged. You know, how things have aged with history and bruised, battered, and patinated. You know, that's. So it sounds like there's some element of discovery, the things you put into your interiors, and appreciation of where these objects lived before. How do you put the room together? Because I am that. And I think that this is what makes the great dealer decorate so amazing, is you approach a room perhaps differently from somebody who studied interior design. How does a Max Rollitt room, how is it born?
Okay, so the joy of being a dealer decorator is that I get to buy. You know, I can go shopping a lot. So I can, and what I buy is essentially my arsenal. It's the things that I can draw on to use, and it's not like when you're putting things together, you're looking for scale and you're looking for shape, but antiques have a limited supply. You know, that you can't just go and buy this or that to that size or whatever. So you have to improvise. And I always buy to my taste, but I know that it's going to happen one day. You know, I'm going to be able to sell it one day, and it's going to be appropriate one day. And so it's this sort of constant build-up of stuff that you need to maintain, that you can draw on. And what makes what makes it unique is that I buy with an eye, a certain look, but also it's a randomness that happens when you're putting a room together. You know, you want a chair, but a wing chair or something like that, so you know the height and the scale that you want. But you have to sort of go with what you will find, and also that affects the relationship within the room. It's like putting different characters into a room. You know, you're bringing so there's a sort of dialogue that builds up between the pieces. So I think it's a different approach, really. It's not so hard.
So it sounds like you're having a fun dinner party where you're selecting each guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Making sure that they all work with each other. And Matt, our relationship with our homes is changing. How do you see our interiors evolving? And what is the role of antiques and also beautifully crafted new furniture? You have a collection of furniture as well. So how do you see these elements becoming important?
That's a big question. You go back to the beginning. What was the beginning?
Our relationship with our home is changing. Yeah. How do you see that change happening? And then how do you see antiques and well-crafted new furniture being a part of how we live?
Well, life is changing in the house, and that it tends to revolve around the kitchen now, because everything can happen in the kitchen. And I often go to jobs where basically people live in a large house and they live in one room. So I think my job, and they all walk through the back door. They never go through the front door, you know.
I'm sure many can relate to that.
Yeah. So I think my job is to sort of facilitate the house and to make people feel comfortable within each space, so they're happy to walk in. I mean, one client once said to me, you know, a room doesn't actually have to have a function. Mm-hmm. It can just look beautiful, which is true, you know. And of course, some rooms, like a drawing room, is often just used for those special occasions. But you still should feel at ease walking into it, and it shouldn't be too precious that you don't want to actually enjoy it or sit down or put a cup down. You know, it's so. I think that's what I try and bring into it, is so that it feels more comfortable and not so frightening. I mean, it's just like walking into your front hall. It should be, you know, welcoming.
Welcoming.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not a great back door. You know, I'm not, but I try and encourage people to walk through the front of the house and enjoy their house and the sort of often the grandeur, which is quite nice.
That's a really good approach to an interior, is that you should enjoy your home. And that maybe because people feel so relaxed in their kitchen, that's why they hang out there, and maybe the rest of the house feel just as relaxed.
Yeah,
and enjoy the rest of your of your house. And what changes, Max? Do you think the interiors industry, so now thinking a bigger picture, should take in response to the challenges that we are facing?
I think, I don't know. I mean, the antiques business is fantastic because it's recycling. You know, so its impact is basically in the transport, and that is its major sort of footprint that it has. I think we'll start. I don't know if this will happen, but I would hope that we would sort of return to more sort of home production for making. I mean, we make most 95% of our stuff is made in this country. So all our sofas and our tables, they're all made from native timbers and produced locally, you know, within sort of 50 miles of here, which is great. And we try and use everything. We try and use sustainable resources. So that's one way in which, you know, we can try and move things along, but it's a privilege. You know, all of these things are a privilege, aren't they? But antiques don't have to be a privilege. They can be very inexpensive.
And I mean, I don't be a plug, but one of the things that one of the things that I like about your website is that there is always something there at all there's all sorts of little discoveries at all sorts of price points as that's what's so inclusive, I think, about antiques, because they're not all grand. However, you know, no. My some of the most biggest influences on me have been people who are friends, who just have taste. And they buy stuff and it's of no value, financial value. You know, they might, but it's just the way they put it together that is so beautiful. And that's a, you know, it's a great, sometimes it's a salutary lesson to me. You know, you don't have to spend lots of money at all. You know, you can find these things. It is how you put it together and how you create your piece of art, which is your home. And Max, as an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, how do you see the interiors industry contributing to society?
Well, I would hope that it elevates the spirit. I would hope that, you know, any sort of any industry that is based on aesthetics is there to really sort of should lift you or move you in some way. I mean, it's like, and yes, we may be a lesser art in that, you know, than fine art, but it's the decorative arts are really, really important to our lives, to our everyday living. Oh, what was the question?
You're answering it very well. How we're contributing to society.
Yeah, well, that's major. I mean, decorative arts are incredibly important.
Quite a contribution.
Yeah.
And this is a, you know, a question that we don't always ask in a magazine environment or in a newspaper environment. Do you think that the government is aware of the contributions of our industry? Because, you know, you as a dealer, you know, you have people who you buy from. You employ people. You commission craftsmen. Do you think that people understand what the industry does? You know, obviously we're delivering joy and lifting the spirit, but we're also, I think, a financial force. How I mean, do you think that the government in general that there's an amazing industry in this country?
I'm not aware of it. They haven't written to me and said you're doing a great job.
Maybe they should.
Yeah, I think they should. I'm expecting a letter. I don't know. I can't see any evidence of it. I think they probably they enjoy the fruits of our labour, But I can't see any evidence of and they enjoy our VAT and tax returns. But I can't see anything else at the moment.
That is a big question. And what is next for Max Rollitt? What should we be looking out for? Is this a time to think about new projects or new designs?
I think for me, it's a time about consolidation and about. I've spent a lot of time in the last few weeks just trying to sort things out so everything is working more efficiently, and it's a tricky time. It's a really tricky time, and it's going to be a sad time as well because I think it's going to be quite hard. The antiques business is looking good. The interior design business, I'm hoping the rich will stay rich for my industry's sake.
I'm
also slightly left in persuasion, so I might be happy either way.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is as we emerge from the current, and it's not for us to be shopping our way out of the current situation, because that means that we're then once more generating income for companies, and if that shopping that you end up with beautiful timeless in your home, then that's a positive thing. But I completely agree that this is the time to reflect on what's important in each one of our businesses, to on what we do best. And Max, to end the conversation, why do you think why do you think British design is worth it? Because you have clients from all over the world. What makes design in the UK, worth it and have that?
I'm afraid we rely on our history an awful lot, and we had a very fruitful. We have had some amazing design over time. I think there's a resurgence of it, and I think we're starting to create some really wonderful design now. I think I think it's coming back to life, British design, and and I think people look to us not only for that sense of history, but for our creativity. And I think I've got 3 sons who are artists, who are all pushing the boundaries in different ways, and I think England is, we're respected for that, and that free thinking. And I'm waffling on now.
No, you have 3 sons.
I've got 4 sons, but I've only got 3 that are artists. So.
Oh, 3 are artists. Well, 4 son.
And the other one's going to be the other one's a philosopher. So there we are.
So the artist. Well, I think that what's really fascinating is how you started in your business with your mother's shop, and then you do something completely different, and then you found your niche in the market. Selling the things that make you happy and make your club.
Yeah.
Perhaps one of your 4 sons will be continuing the tradition as well.
I don't know.
Well, we'll look out for that.
Yeah, you can look out there. I mean, my eldest, Laurie Rollitt, is doing fantastically as an illustrator. He's a wonderful illustrator. Ed, my next one, is doing history of art and he's a whiz. And my third is doing fine art at Goldsmiths, and we all love him, and he's a quiet genius. And then the youngest is just great, and a great force of argument and debate, and we all revere him.
Well,
so, yeah.
I think that there's obviously a lot of energy and creativity.
Yeah, crikey. Yes, in lockdown, there's 3 of them at home. There's a lot of energy to deal with. It's been fantastic. It's been fantastic having it all around us. Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's been fantastic having a conversation with you this afternoon, Matt.
Thanks, Emilio. Always a pleasure to talk to you. It's really, I love talking to you.
Likewise, and I invite all of our viewers to go on Max's website.
Yes.
And all the wonderful things that have brought us all so much joy. Have a good afternoon, Max, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emilio. Lovely to talk to you. Okay.
Bye.